What's going on, everybody? This is the Sports Betting Edge podcast brought to you by oddsjam.com. I am your host, Anthony Servino. Follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. Follow the show at oddsjam, oddsjam.com. You can find us at all the top social media and podcast platforms. And the first edition of this show, I reviewed some positive EV bets for Thursday Night Football. I took some lumps on that one. I hit a few on that one, but that's just the way it goes, right? But if you were working the process correctly with the plus EV betting, you will come out on top in the long run. And if you want to hear more about plus EV betting, go into the OddsJam YouTube page, go into the archives. There are many, many videos that you can find on plus EV bets and the process and how to become a more profitable sports bettor in the long run. Now, today, what I'm going to do an early look at NFL Week 6, the Sunday slate, maybe a couple of bets for Monday night that you can find over at oddsjam.com right now. You'll find these at the EV betting page under tools over at oddsjam.com. If you just keep refreshing it, the odds and the EV bets and the arbitrage bets and all that good stuff, they refresh in real time. 5 to 6 seconds, boom, things could change. So you got to act quick to get into the action. But let's pull up the page. I'm going to show you exactly what I am looking at. If you are new to OddsJam or thinking about joining, this is exactly what you'll see. And all you have to do is follow the damn process. And I promise you, you will become a more profitable sports bettor in the long run. I'm not a math guy like the creators of OddsJam, some of the smartest people I have ever met. I'm just like you. I break down sports. I do fantasy. I love sports betting. But since I've been using OddsJam, I started just before week 1 of the NFL football season. I'm up over $3,200 since I've been using these tools in about 6 weeks. We're not even into NFL Week 6 yet. Sure, there's your ebbs and flows. You have to expect a loss when you're placing wager after wager. But again, in the end, I'm a hell of a lot more profitable than I have been in the past. And I wasn't bad before OddsJam, but let me tell you something. A lot has improved and changed since. So let's pull up the screen. Let's see exactly what I'm looking at. Let's pull it up. Here we go. And let's transition the screen right now. And you're going to see, let's see, where are we? Let's start with, 10-17, that's Sunday. And where am I? Am I in the same page here? Yeah. So the first one we're going to look at, Jacksonville, Miami, 9:30 a.m. Why is it 9:30 a.m.? This game is being played in London. Another terrific London game. And for an East Coaster like me, this thing is 9:30 in the morning, but I'm a football guy. I'm up at 4:30 a.m. Covering the overnight news for one of the publications I work for. So this is fine. I'm up. I'm excited. I can't wait. And we have the over-under player reception total for J-Rob. Mr. James Robinson, who first 2 weeks, the usage just was not there. But now, Mr. James Robinson, in the past 3 games, Urban Meyer woke up and realized, hey, we got to use this guy. And, fantasy-wise, he's been terrific the past 3 games, returning over 20 PPRs a game. But sports betting-wise, that's the angle I'm going to talk today. And in the past few games, James Robinson, despite the fact that he's had back-to-back games with a season-high 18 carries. In the past 2 games, he's had his lowest target total and his lowest reception total of the season. First 3 games, J-Rob has seen target shares of 6, 3, and 6 from weeks 1 to 3 consecutively. Receptions in those games, 3, 3, and 6. The first 3 games of the year, he would have hit the over in this reception total, which is set at 2.5. Past 2 games, obviously, he would have lost you that wager. So what do I think is going to happen this week, right? Because the great thing, like arbitrage betting, risk-free, it's cut and dry. With plus EV wagers, it helps if you can handicap it a little bit. Either way, again, the math and the bets will work itself out. And you'll become profitable if you follow the damn process. So what do I think here? Miami is the opponent, and if we look at what Miami gives up to running backs, they're the number 1 team in production allowed to the running back position. So reception-wise, the RB1 that they have faced in the past couple of games, Leonard Fournette, 4 receptions. Jonathan Taylor, 3 receptions. Kenyon Drake, Peyton Barber against the Raiders the week before that, each had 3 receptions. They held Buffalo backs to 2 apiece, but combined, if there was a de facto starter, they would have had over 3. And then James White, New England, he had 6. So basically, in 4 out of 5 games, the starting running back or the primary receiving back in the offense would have hit this over. Now, where are we? In terms of Mr. James Robinson here? So the bet here with a 4.19% return is the under on J-Rob's reception totals, which goes with the trend that we've seen the past 2 games. Obviously, the team that they are playing, the Miami Dolphins, they give up some production. I am going to place this wager because I love the 4.19% return. The probability of this wager hitting, I would call it a legit, right down the middle. It legitimately can go either way. This is a game in which I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, right, can really come out and possibly get a lead in this game. This isn't the Dolphins of last year. There's going to be less opportunities for a negative game script, which means less opportunities for James Robinson to get the hurry-up offense receptions here. Also, Trevor Lawrence, since James Robinson has been more involved, he's been more efficient. He's played better. He's also taking off and using his legs a little bit more, taking away some of those check down options to the running back. I'm going to be willing to place this bet, getting the minus 102 odds over at Fanduel. Pinnacle, the most accurate sports book in the world, them and bookmakers. They have the odds at minus 129. This is a terrific bet to make. But the probability of it hitting, it legitimately can go either way here. But this is one that I will take a look at, I will monitor, and I will certainly place going into this game on Sunday. So let's keep going down. And we have a 3.97% return here on the Trevor Lawrence over-under interception total. And what I like here, let's go back down to it as I lost it. What I like about this, well, Trevor Lawrence is a rookie. He's had his growing pains clearly since starting in the NFL. And I referenced it just now talking about James Robinson, the fact that Trevor Lawrence has looked better, but he's still a rookie. He's getting one of the better secondaries in the NFL. They're extremely opportunistic. They haven't played up to par, but this is still the Miami Dolphins. They employ some of the best defensive starters in their backfield. They have some depth as well. And the over-under reception total obviously is a half. The play here is the under. So do we think Trevor Lawrence is going to throw an interception against one of the best secondaries in the NFL? Again, it can go either way. What has Trevor Lawrence done the past few games? Well, he's only had one game this season in which he did not throw a pick, which was against Cincinnati. Now he gets the Miami Dolphins. While the expected return is 3.97 if you put money on the under at plus 130 odds that you can get at Caesars and DraftKings. This might be one of those wagers I look away from because let's face it, when you throw at least one pick in 4 out of 5 games played, the odds are you're going to throw another one, right? I mean, it just makes sense. So this is an expected value wager that I might look the other way. Trevor Lawrence, 3 interceptions week 1, 2 in each of the next 2 weeks. He did not throw a pick against Cincinnati and throws 1 against Tennessee. The odds are he throws 1 in London. So this is going to be an EV bet that I am not going to take, even though I do love a return of 3.97%. Let's go into the next available plus EV bet, which is Davis Mills over under passing touchdown total. And he's getting the Indianapolis Colts. And the Indianapolis Colts, if you remember back to Monday night, a few days ago, they were torched by Lamar Jackson. Over 400 yards passing, I believe. Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews each had a pair of touchdowns, I believe. Now, Davis Mills, he actually is coming off his best game. And it was against New England Patriots. And normally, Bill Belichick gives rookie quarterbacks fits, but this isn't the same Patriots team. This isn't the same Patriots defense. It was on the road for New England, so they stumbled a little bit. Patriots still managed to win this football game somehow, but Davis Mills actually looked terrific. 21 of 29, extremely efficient, 72.4% completion percentage, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Really, really good game. So can he build on this, taking on the Indianapolis Colts, who, again, they were just lit up by the aforementioned Baltimore Ravens? So let's see production allowed to the quarterback, and let's see what the Colts can or can't do. So they're actually, they give up a ton to the quarterback. 1,370 collective yards, 15 total touchdowns. Now, I know they were gashed last week by the Baltimore Ravens, but that 15 touchdowns is a league high of passing touchdowns. In fact, let's look further. Every quarterback the Colts have faced this year have thrown for at least 2 touchdowns against them. Russell Wilson, Stafford, Tannehill, even Jacoby M. Brissett threw a pair of touchdowns on this team. And then Lamar Jackson goes for 4. The over-under touchdown total is 1.5. And if you bet the over, which you will get plus 188 odds on at Fox Bet, plus 149 at Pinnacle, you will get a 7.19% return. One of the highest returns on the slate that we can get right now. I know Davis Mills didn't look the part in his first few starts. He was terrible, right? But last week, and it wasn't like they were playing like the Chiefs defense where I can go and throw for 300 and a couple, right? Being facetious here. But like New England, when you're that efficient and you don't throw a pick and you throw 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards, there's something to be said here. I'm going to take the over. And I'm thinking I might be a little bit bullish on how much I lay down on the over of Davis Mills' touchdown totals. Again, he may have only hit this bet once, but what are the factors? Davis Mills was a 4th-round pick? He was a 3rd-round pick, 67th overall in the 2021 NFL draft a few months ago. He was never expected to start. This was supposed to be Deshaun Watson. It was supposed to be Tyrod Taylor. And then, hey, Mr. 3rd-round pick, Davis Mills out of Stanford, go and start for the Houston Texans. By the way, we took away everything for you to work with. Like, you have one of the worst skill position supporting cast in the NFL, one of the worst lines in the NFL, but hey, go win us some football games. Go be efficient out there. First couple of games, he was a mess. Comes out strong at home against New England. It's going to be tough on the road against the Indianapolis Colts, but he should throw for 2. And again, every quarterback the Colts have faced this season have thrown for 2 touchdown passes, plus 188 at Fox Bet right now. Go take it. Let's go scroll down. Of course, we have a soccer wager mixed in the mix, and I don't know much about soccer. And some of these I like to take, some of these I don't like to take. But let's go stick with football. And the next one is the first half total points of the Carolina Panthers versus the Minnesota Vikings game. It's a 1:00 matchup, 3.37% return on the under of 22.5 points plus 100. You can get this at Sugar House, and they share their odds with Barstool, Twin Spires, and Unibet. Now, Pinnacle has this at minus 115. You can get this at plus 100. So the most accurate book in the world, the sharpest book in the world, believes the under is the way to go here. 22.5 points. So look at these two defenses, the Carolina Panthers and the Minnesota Vikings. We know the Carolina Panthers defense, they're strong. It is their strong suit. They need to play pretty good defense to counteract the loss of Christian McCaffrey, who, oh, by the way, is already, I believe, ruled out for this week. So we're going to see another heavy dose of Chuba Hubbard, the rookie. So defensively here, let's take a look at these two defenses in terms of points per game. Carolina Panthers giving up the third fewest points per game at 17.4. Minnesota, they can be gashed a little bit, but they are giving up 21.8 points per game. They're a top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're giving up the ninth fewest points. This is a defensive battle here. And I don't see a lot of points being scored in the first half. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to be more confident with this one. Now, remember earlier when I said I wasn't that confident in the J-Rob one, the Davis Mills, I'm certainly confident in. And, even the Trevor Lawrence one, I'm fading that one. The odds are against him. Here is another one I'm pretty confident in. Fewer than 22.5 points scored in the first half in a battle between two teams that field two of the top 10 defenses in the NFL in overall points surrendered. Let's move to the next one. And another 1:00 slate game, Lions, Cincinnati Bengals. And here's a guy named Khalif Raymond. Who? Yeah, Khalif Raymond. The Lions wide receiver room is decrepit, right? Everybody's on IR. They weren't that strong coming into the year. So we have Khalif Raymond in the mix now. So let's look at Khalif Raymond, as much as I really don't want to. His over-under reception total is set at 3.5. And if you take the under, it's minus 130 odds at DraftKings and Caesars, minus 166 at Pinnacle. And again, a 3.33% return if it does, in fact, hit. Khalif Raymond, as bad as it's been in terms of nobody to throw to a wide receiver. In fact, it's been Amon-Ra St. Brown, the rookie. He's been getting going the past two games, back-to-back games with 8 targets, so keep an eye on him. Khalif Raymond has seen fewer than 6 targets in 4 out of 5 games. His highest targeted game was week 3 against Baltimore. And sure, he had the following game against Chicago with 6 targets, but then we have 3 games, including the last one, with fewer than 4, 2 of which 2 targets. In every game but one this season, Khalif Raymond has caught fewer than 3 receptions. He had that one game against Baltimore, again, in week 3, 6 of 10 for 68. But in every other game, he's caught fewer than 3 receptions, including last week against Minnesota. He went 0 for 2. This is a bet that, listen, I know it's bad here, but I'm going to probably take the under here. I'll probably be confident. Now, sure, they can start funneling him targets. This is a game against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a better football team than we thought coming into it. I actually was pretty high on the Bengals past 2 off seasons, spent a ton of money on the defensive side of the ball. That is starting to gel a little bit. Ton of firepower on offense. They can run the ball. This is probably going to be a lower scoring game unless we see, DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson pop on the Detroit side. We know Joe Burrow can put up some points on his end. But although I see the Bengals as a superior team, they generally play down to their competition. This is going to be a run-heavy game on both sides. So I'm going to take the under on Khalif Raymond. And let's go back here for a second. I don't think he's going to get a lot of targets, right? They have Trinity Benson vying for targets. Amon St. Brown is getting some looks. We know DeAndre Swift gets in the mix. We know that TJ Hawkinson gets in the mix. So although they're filled with a bunch of guys, Jared Goff does distribute the ball around, and so far, or at least in the past 2 weeks, his favorite target has been Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I'm going to take the under on the Khalif Raymond reception total at minus 130 odds, minus 166 at Pinnacle, getting the aforementioned 3.33% return. That is what I'm fairly confident in, especially if it's a lower scoring game and Cincinnati plays down to the Lions and they keep it close. Then there's not going to be a need for a ton of garbage time. We can still see Detroit do what they want to do, which is feature the run. Staying in here, this is a tough one with CJ Uzomah, the tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals. His over-under reception total is set at 2.5. Now, C.J. Uzomah, we know he popped that one game a few weeks ago. Was one of the most productive tight ends that week in the NFL. 5 for 6 for 95 and 2. A tight end-friendly matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. In every other game he's played, he's had fewer than 2 targets, fewer than 2 receptions, fewer than 35 yards. C.J. Uzomah is that guy who's going to go off and then won't do anything, and then a couple more weeks go off again. But there's just so many targets here when you're trying to get Joe Mixon involved in the passing attack, and you have the 3 terrific receivers, including Jamar Chase, who I believe is one of the best rookies in this class. C.J. Uzomah is going to get the leftovers. So the under 2.5 reception total, he's getting you exactly 2 in 3 out of 4 games, 1 with 5, 1 with 0. This is going to be another game where I believe he hits the under. I just don't think he's going to get enough targets to return that. Now, this past week, I like to talk about my losses. I was extremely low on O.J. Howard, but they featured O.J. Howard on Thursday night, and O.J. Howard popped. What I believe they are trying to do, they wanted to feature O.J. Howard with an attempt. They didn't renew his deal. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option. O.J. Howard is certainly a trade candidate with the trade deadline approaching, so maybe they wanted to show the rest of the NFL, hey, coming off the Achilles, O.J. Howard's got it, so let's try to make a move so we don't lose him, a former first-round pick, for nothing in free agency. Uzomah against Detroit. How was Detroit against the tight ends? I always like to see production allowed as well, not just what they do on that side. And Detroit, they don't give up a ton to the tight end position. They're one of the bottom teams in terms of production surrendered. In fact, Detroit as a whole, let me get this chart up, they're giving up the 3rd fewest receptions to the position. They've only given up 16 receptions to tight ends, which is 3rd fewest in the NFL. They've only given up 1 touchdown, for what it's worth, to the tight end position, 2nd fewest in the NFL. And, they're okay in yards. So, again, 5 weeks now, 16 total receptions. This should not be a C.J. Uzomah-centric game. Not there, like there are many anyway. So I'm going to take the under here at minus 140. Let's scroll down. This is a different game. Giants, Rams, and we have the over-under passing touchdown total for Mr. Matthew Stafford set at 2.5. You can get plus 155 odds at Sugar House and the other sites that share their odds, Barstool, TwinSpires, Unibet, plus 131 at Pinnacle. And it's a 2.86 return. Not a huge return, but it's doable. Like, I don't like going lower than 3, but sometimes I will, especially if it's one that I believe will hit. So Matthew Stafford this year, we know that Detroit spent some capital to acquire him and move off of Jared Goff and his contract. So let's go Stafford. And let's see what Stafford has done this year. He's been pretty good, right? Obviously, the Rams one of the better teams in the NFL. But only 2 out of 5 games, Stafford has thrown for north of 2 touchdowns. He threw for 3 in week 1 against Chicago, 4 against week 3 against Tampa Bay, but he was held to 2 against Indy, Arizona, and only 1 last week against Seattle. Now, the Giants. What do we think about the Giants? Well, what do we think about this matchup overall? How do we expect this game flow to go? This should be a game, in theory, on the road. We're going to see a lot of Darrell Henderson. We're going to see a lot of Sony Michel. We know that the Rams must establish the run to open up the rest of Sean McVay's offense. How does the Giants do against the quarterback position? Well, the New York Giants, they do give up some production to the quarterback position. But touchdown-wise, where are the New York Giants? They have given up 10 scores. They're a top 12 team in that category. Let's see how the Giants have done in a game-per-game breakdown. 2 to Bridgewater, 2 to Heineke, 2 to Ryan, 1 to Winston, 3 to Dak. So they give up a couple a game. Dak was the only one who threw for more than 2 touchdowns, and it's Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys and all those weapons. I would probably fade this bet. Probability-wise, this is one that can certainly go either way. I don't have a feeling one way or another. If anything, I think Stafford throws 2, and that's about it. I can see this being very much a strong Darrell Henderson game. Maybe Sony Michel gets a touchdown when they're around the goal line. I don't think Stafford's going to have to be the spotlight here against the New York Giants. This is an extremely winnable game for the Rams and one that they should dominate and control from the start at the Meadowlands. Going down here, where's the next play, right? The age-old question. Total points, Carolina, Minnesota. For that game, we already talked about 2 of the best defenses in the NFL, 2 of the top defenses in points allowed. The under is the expected play, minus 110 odds at WinBet. The significant person that is not going to play in this game, and let me just double check, is Christian McCaffrey. He's already been ruled out. Maybe if McCaffrey was in, I would have my mind changed because he obviously makes everything go. But no, he is officially ruled out with the hammy. So what's the play here? I like the under at the 46.5. I believe, yeah, that's definitely the play I would take. There's only a 2.8% return, but the probability of this hitting to me is high unless this somehow turns into a shootout, and it could, considering the weapons on both sides of the ball, but I believe this is a game in which both defenses show up. Now, it's going to come close to 46.5. Wouldn't surprise me if 46 flat, 45 was scored, but I do see the under hitting when it's all said and done. Going back to this Lions-Bengals game, and it is the first half point spread, 1 o'clock slate. The play, Borgata, BetMGM, if you are not limited there, like a lot of us are, minus 110 odds, minus 125 at Pinnacle. The play here is a Cincinnati Bengals at minus 2.5. This is one that I like. Although I do like this to be a lower scoring game and a closer game until the second half, Cincinnati, in theory, should control the game and have a 3 to 7 point lead for the duration. They are the superior team than the Detroit Lions. They certainly have the better weapons, the better quarterback. Detroit, they can play a little bit of defense in the secondary, but you can absolutely gash them on the ground. Expect a big day out of Joe Mixon. I also think the Lions running backs, both Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, can have efficient days as well. But as far as going into the half with a 2.5-point lead, Cincinnati should absolutely manage to cover that spread. Let's go down. I'm going to look for things with maybe a little bit of a higher return here. Let's go. Here's a 3.59% return. Football team of Washington, Kansas City Chiefs. And the play here, -110, BetMGM, Borgata, Caesars. It's the under on Patrick Mahomes completions, under 26.5, -139 at Pinnacle. Again, -110 at the Borgata, BetMGM, and Caesars. So Mahomeboy, Patrick Mahomes, under 26.5 completions. This is Washington. And this, to me, could be a trap. Let's look at Mahomes' completions this year. Very damn close. 27, 24, 27, 24, 33. They're getting Washington. And the Chiefs' defense is not good. Washington's defense, primarily, their secondary, is just as bad. This is going to be a high-scoring game. This should be a lot of fireworks. While the value is on the under, I'm going to fade this bet completely. It could come close, certainly, but if you look at the games, like Cleveland's secondary threw for 27 with a hit. Their secondary is pretty good. Under against Baltimore, over against the Chargers, under against Philly, and then over against Buffalo. You know, the past 3 games, Mahomes has not looked for like Mahomes, fewer than 300 yards in each of his past 3 games. Yeah, I'm going to fade this completely. I don't have a gut instinct either way, but I do know he's gonna throw the hell out of the football on Sunday. I'm not a big Clyde Edwards-Helaire guy, but he's ruled out. He's gonna miss the next couple of games. Darrell Williams is a capable runner. I do think he's going to get the lion's share of the carries. Washington this year. Let's see what the quarterbacks have done against Washington. And yes, they do get gashed. 31 completions week 1 to Herbert, 22 to Jones of the Giants, 32 to Josh Allen, 25 to Matt Ryan, 15 to Jameis Winston last week. The 2 best quarterbacks that the football team have played, Justin Herbert and Josh Allen, completed over 30 passes against the Washington football team. The Chargers employ Austin Eckler, very good running back. So they still threw the hell out of the football despite the presence of Eckler. Buffalo, their ground game isn't great, but they've been getting it going with the tandem of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. He still managed to complete 32 completions. And then the other games went under. I'm gonna fade this, but I might like the over a tad more because, you know, the Chiefs need to make a goddamn statement, right? Like, everybody except for me had the Chiefs. They're gonna repeat. They're gonna challenge the Bucs, and they revamped their offensive line. The Chiefs have not looked like the Chiefs. They were embarrassed on, against the Buffalo Bills. To me, the pendulum has swung in favor of the Bills. The Chiefs are no longer the top team in the AFC. I believe Buffalo has taken that over. They have shown to play complete offense. They get the ground game going a little bit. It's no longer just Stephon Diggs. They have Manny Sanders. They have Cole Beasley underneath. Dawson Knox getting in the mix, breaking out at tight end. Their defense is outstanding at all 3 levels. And the Chiefs, they need to make a statement because the Chargers are right on their ass. Forget about Denver, forget about the Raiders, but it's really going to be the Chiefs and the Chargers battling for this division, and the Chiefs need to come out, get the momentum down their running back, and Mahomes needs the confidence. I know it's crazy to say Mahomes doesn't have confidence, but I think he's a little bit rattled right now. I'm going to go over if you had to make the bet, which isn't a mathematically profitable bet, but if I had to make one, I would find the best odds you can get somewhere on the over or completely fade the bet. I'm not confident that the under will hit against this Washington football team defense. Just not. Let's find some more good ones. Actually, let's go here. It's only 2%, but I just want to spend a second on here. It's the total of 55 points. Chiefs football team. You can get at -110 at WinBet for the under. It'll be close. Like, both of these defenses are not great. Like, we know Kansas City's really bad. I think Taylor Heineke is extremely underrated. He's been pretty productive in 3 out of the 4 starts. Not great last week, but in his 3 previous starts, Taylor Heineke can throw the football. I like Terry McLaurin. They have some nice pieces. It's going to come close. This might be one of those games where I might flirt with over the total, or if you can find this game, if you can get an alternate total at like 54.5, 54, take the over. But if you do take the under, it's going to be pretty damn close. And at only a 2% return, I'm not sure it is worth the risk. Here's a nice 5% banger. Let's go to the 4 o'clock slate. It's Browns Cardinals. It's Christian Kirk. Total receptions 3.5, -135 at Caesars, -183 at Pinnacle. So Pinnacle really thinks the under is the play here, and I do a fantasy centric show at the FF Faceoff, fffaceoff.com, shameless plug. And we had some questions about Christian Kirk and Christian Kirk's value. And he plays on an offense who just traded for Zach Ertz. Obviously, Zach Ertz is not going to play this week. But moving forward, Kirk's already like the 3 or 4. Kirk's going to be like the 4 or 5 now on an offense that employs DeAndre Hopkins and A.J. Green. They just brought in Ertz. They have, obviously the aforementioned Christian Kirk, Chase Edmonds catching passes out of the backfield. They're loaded with offensive talent. Christian Kirk this year, now this total set at 3.5. He hit this total 3 out of 5 games. Now, he's only had north of 8 targets once. He had north of 5 targets once. He had an 8-target game back in week 3, in which he caught 7 of them for a $104 against Jacksonville. He saw fewer than 5 targets in every other game this year. Now, in the games where Christian Kirk saw 5 targets, he would hit this over. He caught north of 3.5 receptions. So if Christian Kirk doesn't see the targets this week at Cleveland, this total is going to hit the under. Now, again, could it go either way? Yes. What sways me to make this bet, number one, a 5.16% return of expected value if it hits. That I love. Something else that I love is the fact that they are playing in Cleveland. Now, we know that the Cleveland Browns, they were smashed and gashed by Justin Herbert last week, and the Los Angeles Chargers. But Cleveland, their secondary really isn't that bad, right? They've given up collectively in 5 games, 63 receptions, 894 yards, and 5 touchdowns to wide receivers. Wow, not a lot of touchdowns. This season, they've given up. There have been 5 receivers they have faced this year that have caught more than 4 receptions on them. And usually it's the wide receiver one, like Hill, Tyreek, caught 11 in week 1. Brandon Cooks caught 9 in week 2. Justin Jefferson caught 6 in week 3. They managed to shut down Adam Thielen at 3. And then Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both went for 8 and 6, respectively. Every other receiver they faced caught fewer than 3 receptions. Christian Kirk is not the ace on this team. It would be DeAndre Hopkins or A.J. Green. I'm going to take the under confidently on this Christian Kirk total receptions at -135 at Caesars. I think that has a good shot of hitting. Let's see. Let's keep moving down the list here. Here's a 4.39% return. David Njoku total receptions at 2.5. You can get this at minus 140 at Caesars, minus 187 at Pinnacle, sharpest bookmaker in the world. So they think it's a high probability of this hitting. Now, we know that there's not a ton of pass catching options with the Browns. We know that, Odell Beckham Jr. has been a disappointment. We also know that the Arizona Cardinals, they're actually one of the better teams at defending enemy tight ends. Let's see how good they are, in fact. The Cardinals are giving up, let's talk in fantasy term, the third fewest fantasy points to tight ends. They don't give up a ton to the tight end position. They've given up only 16 receptions for 122 yards and no touchdowns. So production from the tight end is extremely sporadic against the Cardinals. And now this is David Njoku. So what has David Njoku done this year? I know David Njoku has been involved, but we know that Austin Hooper is the ace tight end with the Cleveland Browns. Now, Njoku would have hit the over 2 times this year. He went 7 of 7 for $149.01 last week against the Chargers, but the last time he had more than 2.5 receptions was in the season opener against Kansas City. And he's faced pretty good matchups. Like Houston was a great matchup for the tight end. They shut him down. Now he gets a terrible matchup against Arizona. There's no Nick Chubb. This is going to be a big-time Kareem Hunt game. Now, Njoku was on the injury report this week with the knee, but he's expected to be fine. He was actually removed off the injury report. Now, Jarvis Landry did return. He was activated from IR. He's expected to practice, but I don't see Jarvis Landry playing, but he can. The Browns have until 4 p.m. Saturday to activate Jarvis Landry if he's going to play this week. So there is that chance that he does. I am 2.5. It's like such a low total, but I'm going to take the 4.39% return, lay a little bit of money on the under on David Njoku. Like I said, the Cardinals give up nothing. 16 total receptions in 5 games to the tight end position. Here's another one, 425, 4 o'clock slate, 5.23% return over at Caesars Sportsbook, minus 125 odds. The bet. Javonte Williams, the terrific rookie running back, has yet to really get going. And his total receptions, the play is the under at 2.5. So will Javonte Williams be a nice play? Again, the return is nice. The 5.23% expected value return is really nice if this wager hits. So what do I think about this wager hitting? And remember, folks, like a lot of these, I'm telling you, if I say I'm going to place it, I'm going to place it. And I do have a live betting show, a couple ideas cooking, where I actually go through some of these, place the bets live, and some fun stuff. I'm doing a lot of work at Odds Jam. I can't wait for it. I'm really excited for it. Now, Javonte Williams, his over-under total receptions is at 2.5. In each of the past 3 games, Javonte Williams has had 3 receptions and at least 3 targets. He is getting more and more involved in the offense. To make matters worse for this bet, the Las Vegas Raiders, they defend the pass well, but they are normally gashed by the running back position. They give up a ton of production to enemy running backs. So I'm a little bit worried about Javonte Williams here. The Raiders have given up 22 total receptions to running backs this season for $161 and 2 out of the backfield. 5 different running backs caught north of 2.5 receptions on the Raiders this year. So as attractive as this bet is, with this expected value return, I'm going to fade it because not only is William hot the past 3 games catching the football, but the Raiders give up a ton to running backs catching the football out of the backfield. Couple more before I wrap up for today. Dallas Cowboys, Patriots, Nelson Aguilar reception total 3.5. The unders to play -115 over at Caesars. 4.89% return expected value. Let's see Mr. Nelson Aguilar. Because you have to expect Dallas gives up a ton. Like, their defense has improved. But, teams are always playing from behind against the Cowboys this year, which exposes them to production primarily in the passing game. So the over-under total on Aguilar is set at 3.5. Nelson Aguilar this season has caught fewer than 3.5 footballs in a game in 4 games. In fact, after going off in week 1, 5 of 7 targets for 72 and a touchdown, Nelson Aguilar has caught fewer than 3 passes in every game. And in that 4-game time span, he has 1 game with more than 5 targets back in week 3 with 8. Even last week, when the Texans were playing from behind, when the Patriots were playing from behind against the Texans and they were trying to dig out of a hole, Nelson Aguilar, not even a blip on the radar, 3 of 4 targets for 32 yards. And again, he's supposed to be the big play guy. However, how good can your big play receiver be when you have a quarterback that doesn't target the ball downfield for over 20 yards? Like, Mac Jones just isn't there yet. They play dink and dunk football. In fact, Kendrick Bourne has given, in the past 3 games, he's caught more than 3.5 passes 2 times. So I'm just going to fade Aguilar in this bet altogether. Actually, no, I'm going to take the under. I'm sorry, I'm not fading. I'm taking the under at the 4.89% return, -115 at Caesars, -150 at Pinnacle. Like, I like this. I just don't see it happening for Nelson Aguilar. It's been Kendrick Bourne. If there's anybody not named Jacoby Myers catching the football at wide receiver, it's been Kendrick Bourne. Ew. Here's one I'm going to definitely stay away from, and it's the Blake Jarwin reception total, 4.01% return. Plus 100 odds across the board. Borgata, BetMGM, Caesars, DraftKings, -126 at Pinnacle. Only 1.5 receptions. It's not a lot. 2 catches in the Dallas offense. You would think it's nothing, but Dalton Schultz has been the go-to tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Also, like, we talked about teams that give up like nothing to the tight end. We already talked about a few teams that give up nothing to the tight end. Well, another team that gives up like nothing to the tight end, like the New England Patriots, they do not give up a ton of tight end production in their own right. They're actually the number 1 team in stopping the tight end. The Patriots have only given up 11 receptions to the tight end position this season. So how hard could it be for Blake Jarwin to get 2? Well, not only is he the tight end 2 in this offense, but they're playing a team that does not let the tight end get involved whatsoever. I'm going to take the under here on Blake Jarwin, and it could blow up in my face, but the odds of him getting going are really slim. Now, is there a scenario in which the Patriots, Dallas lines up in a twin tight end set and a 12 personnel set, and, they take out Dalton Schultz, and just like what the Buccaneers did on Thursday Night Football, and all of a sudden you see O.J. Howard sneaking out. Yeah, that can happen. But this season alone, Blake Jarwin opened the year with 3 catches, week 2, 3 catches, and since the emergence of Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin's been an afterthought. In fact, week 3 against Philly, 2 receptions. Week 4 against Carolina, 1. Last week against the Giants. And Blake Jarwin, historically, has destroyed the New York Giants. I believe leading up to last week, he had like 5 touchdowns in 5 games. He didn't do anything. He didn't even get a target last week against the New York Giants. Meanwhile, Schultz, 6 of 8 for 79. Blake Jarwin, to me, is an afterthought in this offense, and you can take the under here, and you should go to bed pretty confident after you place this bet. Here's another one out of this Dallas game. Mac Jones, longest completion, 36.5 yards. I already talked to you about like, they don't throw the ball deep with Mac Jones. I don't think they trust him to do it yet. And we're looking for a 36.5-yard completion out of Mac Jones. The deep passes, like when they take their shots deep, if you remember, like last week, it was Jacoby Myers on a trick play. They don't trust their quarterback to push the ball downfield with the deep ball. You can get minus 115 odds at DraftKings, Borgata, and all those fun places. Minus 145 at Pinnacle. They think it has pretty good odds of hitting. Absolutely positively take the under here. Let's start to wrap up, because I'm going to come back with some more, bets that I'm making or fading. Tomorrow, I believe I'll do one more program. Let's take one more out of this Dallas game. Here's a 3.47%er, plus 140 at Caesars, DraftKings, BetMGM, Borgata. Jonnu Smith, the over 2.5. So even Pinnacle thinks that this might have a hard time hitting. It's plus 110, minus 145, or it's plus 116 at Pinnacle, minus 147 for the under to hit on Jonnu Smith's total receptions at under 2.5. You can get plus 140 odds at the aforementioned sports books I told you about. So let's look up Jonnu Smith, because one thing I know, the Cowboys, they give a pretty good production to the tight end position. I believe they have 27 receptions allowed to the position, 13th most in the NFL. Now, Hunter Henry has been emerging, just like I told everybody in the offseason, in the fantasy market, that Hunter Henry has historically been the possession guy, where Jonnu Smith in Tennessee, he had his best season in 2020, but has never been that volume target. This season, Jonnu Smith, he's had 3 games in which he would have hit the over on this total. Last week, a season low 2 targets, 2 receptions, 27 yards against Houston. Pretty good matchup. Meanwhile, Hunter Henry was the guy. I am gonna take the over here. I just have a gut feeling. We already talked about how Mac Jones has issues pushing the ball downfield with the deep ball. You can pick apart the middle of this Dallas defense with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. I expect both tight ends to be busy. If you play fantasy, absolutely get Henry in your lineup. And I do think this could be a nice game for Jonnu Smith. I like the over on his reception total. It's only 2.5, so he needs 3 receptions against a Cowboys defense that have given up 27 receptions to the tight end position in 5 games, 13 most in the NFL. I apologize for my Pomeranian hacking right now, but that's what you got to deal with sometimes with a little dog. But yeah, I'm all in here on the Jonnu Smith. Guys, I can't wait for week 6 in the NFL. If you can't tell how excited I am to talk about it, I can't wait to place more wagers, and I can't wait to, see the outcomes. Like, this is my favorite thing in the world to do, especially when we're talking about football and football betting. I absolutely love it. I live for this stuff. I will be back tomorrow with some more positive EV bets that I like and I don't like. Until then, my name is Anthony Servino. This is the Sports Betting Edge podcast. Follow the show at OddsJam. Follow me at The Real NFL Guru on Twitter. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you heard anything you liked today. But until next time, good luck on any of the wagers you place, and make sure you are using the tools at OddsJam, because I promise you, if you follow the process correctly, you will become a more profitable sports bettor in the long run, because it sure as hell has helped me in only 6 weeks' time. I'm Anthony Servino. See you later.